the room entirely empty, except for the doll sitting on the floor. As Lou deep inside the Warrens' occult museum, surrounded by extreme security protocols and strict warnings against touching anything, sits a single illuminated glass box. The containment measures around this specific case are severe. There are warning signs, regular bindings through prayer, and holy water applications. Yet, sitting quietly at the center of all this intense supernatural security is a completely mundane, innocent-looking Raggedy Ann doll. We are looking at the focal point of one of the most rigorously documented cases of paranormal escalation in American history. To understand why a harmless child's toy requires permanent, locked imprisonment, we have to examine the specific chain of physical evidence that upgraded it from an inanimate object to a lethal threat. This vintage photograph brings us to the origin point in 1918. An American writer named Johnny Gruelle found a mysterious rag doll discarded in his backyard and gifted it to his young daughter, Marcella. Marcella formed a rapid, obsessive attachment to the toy. She began treating the doll like a living companion, playing with it constantly and shutting herself away from her peers to spend time entirely alone with it. At age 13, Marcella fell deeply ill and died following a severe reaction to a vaccine. Immediately preceding her death, the doll vanished completely from the family home without any explanation. This 1918 incident provides the first record of a specific progression, an intense bond with a child, followed immediately by a fatal tragedy and the doll's total disappearance. 50 years later, the doll resurfaced. An antique shop purchase placed it back into the modern world, this time as a birthday gift given to a young woman named Donna, seen represented by this group of 1970s nursing students. The first stage of evidence was spatial manipulation. Donna and her roommate, Lou, would leave their normal apartment for the day and return to find the doll sitting in entirely different rooms, with its arms and legs placed in different positions. Stage 2 involved impossible communication. The roommates began finding scraps of parchment paper scattered around their home. Written on the paper, in a childlike scrawl, were the words, "Help me." Then the evidence escalated into biological anomalies. Coming home late one night, the nursing students examined the doll and discovered fresh, liquid red blood seeping onto its chest and back. Despite the blood and the mysterious notes, Donna resisted her roommate's pleas to throw the doll away, choosing instead to keep it in her room. As the evidence grew increasingly overt, moving from spatial shifts to biological stains, the behavioral contradiction remained. Donna continued to keep the doll in her living space, even as the alarm of those around her intensified. The situation climaxed violently. Lou was alone in the apartment when he heard Donna screaming from another room. He rushed in to help, but found the room entirely empty, except for the doll sitting on the floor. As Lou stepped slowly toward the doll on the floor, a violent, invisible force struck him aggressively in the dark. He collapsed to the floor in agony. Deep, bleeding scratch marks spontaneously appeared across his chest. The injuries were severe enough to require an immediate hospital stay. This physical assault shattered the illusion of a harmless haunting. The entity had crossed the line into physical violence, forcing the survivors to trigger an extreme professional intervention. The lethal attack prompted the church to dispatch specialized paranormal investigators. As you can see in this photograph, Ed and Lorraine Warren took over the apartment to analyze the case. The Warrens delivered a chilling diagnosis. The doll did not house the spirit of a dead child. It harbored an inhuman, demonic entity. This diagram illustrates a concept the Warrens called demonic parasitism. Demons do not possess inanimate objects. Instead, they use objects as Trojan horses to emotionally manipulate a target until they are weak enough. Then, the entity reattaches to the human host. The Warrens identified Donna's attachment as a calculated phase of psychological grooming, a necessary step for the entity to eventually attempt a physical takeover. The Warrens confiscated the doll, but the drive home proved disastrous. While traveling down the highway, their car's steering and brake systems completely failed. Managing to force the car to a stop, they executed emergency roadside mitigation. They doused the artifact in holy water and performed binding rituals right there on the shoulder, just to safely transport it the rest of the way. Today, the doll remains eternally locked in a custom-built enclosure. The strict containment protocols are designed specifically to sever its ability to groom another human host. Between the recorded hospital visits and the high-security museum protocols, the doll carries a weight of evidence that persists regardless of one's belief in the supernatural. Some objects carry histories far too dangerous to easily dismiss.